isn't it going? Wrong way. Oh, shoot! Hey, my name is Kyle Rush, and you are watching the No Counts Given podcast. Happy 1 year anniversary, everyone. Happy 1 year anniversary to the No Counts Given podcast. I can't believe it's already been one complete year since the podcast has kicked off, and so many things that I want to talk about, so many things that we're going to be getting through. This is actually going to be our longest episode yet. This has to be our longest episode yet. I knew it was going to be long, but I don't want to break it out into parts. I'm done with the part 1, part 2, part 3. It also feels very weird calling it an anniversary or like a birthday. Like, what would you call this? I don't want to call it the 1 year birthday because my partner's birthday is this weekend. And like the back-to-back birthdays feels weird. So many things in store for us today. Okay, first off, we're going to be talking about IDL. I've talked about them twice already. We've covered some of their events. I went to their LA launch. We're going to be talking about it a little bit more today since there are 2 official events that have gone by, and I have not been able to talk about them because we had coverage episodes and episodes planned already in the past. So today I'm finally going to sit down and we're going to talk about the IDL Vancouver and New York series. And these balloons are going to be waving everywhere because I got the AC kicking because I got like 5 lights in here. And so if these are moving and hitting me in the head, just ignore it. What else are we talking about today? Oh, I got blind items. I think I have 4 blind items that we're going to be touching on today. These were all sent via email. Now, I did get several of our voicemail blind items. I'm going to be holding those off for our next blind item segment, which is going to be the end of June. I think I'm going to switch it on and off because I've been getting a lot of emails, but then I also get the voicemails every now and again. The emails are more frequent, so I think I want to just give more time in between the two and break it up that way. Anyways, we have blind items that we're going to be talking about. What else are we talking about today? Oh, I got an interview. Now, I'm sure everyone has seen this on social media. If you're in the dance team world, you've definitely seen this. The Source Dance Lab, they competed at the USASF Worlds in the senior small hip hop and senior large hip hop divisions. I'm not sure there were, and they also had a jazz team as well too. But specifically in senior small, they had some discrepancies in the scoring, and some of the feedback and response to them was not very transparent. They had a very long post on Instagram. Go and read it if you want to get a little bit more background into what happened to them and the discrepancies that we have. We're also going to be breaking it all down in our interview. It's such an insightful interview, and I think it's one that so many people are going to relate to, but there's so very few people in our dance team world that actually will speak up and speak on these things that are going on behind the scenes. And so we're going to be talking about that with Ashley and Courtney from the Source Dance Lab. We also dropped the news that SFA is going to be competing at both NDA and UDA Nationals, and I know that there is already a lot of conversation circling around it with the NDA and UDA competitions not being able to compete at both. So we're going to talk about it. We have a sit-down conversation with TJ Maple, the head coach of SFA Dance Team. He's going to be joining us on the podcast today and just get a little bit more background. I also posted a whole story about them on nocountsgiven.com. Go ahead and go check that out too, because that has a little bit more information on the rules that were set for the past 2 years. Actually, I got the past 2 years, but I'm sure it's been longer than that. As well as at the time the article was dropped, UDA did not have their 2026-2027 rules out for college. Very strangely enough, very weird enough, they actually dropped today, 2 days after No Counts Given dropped the news about SFA competing at both NDA and UDA. So we're also going to take a look at that before the interview with TJ Maple. And then I have my top 10 routines of the 2025-2026 season that we are going to be talking about. Some of these, listen, throughout the season, there are just routines that just will play over and over and over again in your head. And if it's not the routine, it's like the song. Like, I'm still singing tracks from a lot of these top 10 routines and like palm vocals and all of the fun stuff. And like little 8 counts and phrases just like run through my head at random times. Anyways, I have the top 10 routines that I think I did a good job. I think I did a really good job with this top 10. I highlight some jazz routines, palm routines, hip hop routines. So stay to the end of the show for that. I have to give a few thank yous before we get to the ad reads really quick. Obviously, I have to give a thank you to my sponsor, Dance Team Union. Dance Team Union is what allows No Counts Given to continue thriving and provide you guys with a lot of the interviews and in-person interviews that we're able to do. So incredible thank you to Dance Team Union, of course. Sharpen Up Dance Team Training and Dance Team Supply have been a sponsor for quite a while now on the podcast, and we started kicking off their ad reads in January, I believe it was. And I just have a great relationship with Ronnie and Lindsay, the partners and owners at Sharpen Up Dance Team Training. Actually, just saw them a few days, no, like 2 weeks ago in Dallas. They did give me this for my background. You see it up there now. I added a little new addition. I have a little Sharpen Up logo now on top of my shelves here. And then, of course, Rebel. Rebel was a great sponsor that we had on the show. Now, nothing happened. I know they're like, hey, is everything okay with you and Rebel? You haven't included them on any of your sponsor messages. Our contract ended. That was simply that. They were contracted with us to sponsor a lot of the coverage episodes that we did. However, keep a lookout for them. Maybe you'll see him on the podcast again soon. And then last but not least, I have to give a thank you to my partner. He's what really pushes me to not just stay true to myself, but also challenge my thought process a lot. And even though I do get upset about it, I'm like, why don't you just always agree with me? I know he comes from a good place and he's always trying to just make me see both sides to every story. So I have to give a thank you to my partner. I love him so much, and he's just supporting me through all of this and is what really pushed me to even start a podcast and continue dance team coverage before I even had No Counts Given and all of the things. So yeah, shout out to my partner. It's also his birthday this week, and I'm pretty sure I already said that. But anyways, let's get to the ad reads, and then we will get to our first thing that we're going to be talking about, which is the IDL International Dance League. Here we go.
This season may be complete, but the next one is already calling. Dance Team Union Rankings are a season-long virtual leaderboard where teams from across the country compete, score, and rise all year long. Through multiple virtual events, teams submit routines, receive expert video critiques from DTU judges, and earn scores that build toward something bigger. Because when the season ends, it's not just about the rankings. Top teams earn national recognition, exclusive awards, and major grand prizes, rewarding consistency, growth, and excellence across an entire season. Every performance counts, every score matters, and every routine brings you closer to the top. The next DTU ranking season is coming soon. Train smart, compete often, and get ready to see your name on the leaderboard.
All right, here we go. IDL. If you are not familiar with IDL, go to our podcast episodes that we included IDL coverage. I provided a lot of information, just how they run the event, how the rounds work, as well as I remember after the LA launch event, I gave a little coverage and background on the event and what I thought of the event. And there were a lot of things that were on the website that weren't aligning with how the event was actually ran. And I don't know, now, just to break it down for you, because I don't think I've talked about it since the LA launch event, and a little after that, I did a little coverage on some news and investments that they actually hit. The LA launch event, I'm not sure if it was meant to be a exact carbon copy of their actual series, because I remember there were things saying like there was going to be 4 judges, and the 4 judges weren't all there. There were supposed to be 6 judges, but there were only 4 judges at the LA launch event. And there was an additional fan vote as well, too, where the fans get to vote for the teams competing in each round. Go watch that podcast. I provided a lot of information there. Now, I did challenge a lot of things, and then I saw that things were updated and changed and figured out on the website. The website now is definitely very resourceful. So IDL.pro, go and check it out. I think this is going to be like the next major step in competitive dance. And I am fully backing what the IDL is bringing so far. Everything is so top tier. And coming from someone who I danced pro for the NBA, so I got to actually witness courtside NBA environment or sports arena environment. And I have to say, from the LA launch event, it was almost identical to the energy you would feel in a room at like a Golden State Warriors game, to be quite honest with you. The names that are represented in the IDL, you have GRV, you have Brotherhood, Quick Style, Royal Family, Jam Republic, and who am I forgetting? Who am I forgetting? Who am I forgetting? Oh no, GRV, 1 million, Quick Style, Brotherhood, Jam Republic. Oh no, who am I forgetting? Brotherhood, GRV, Jam Republic, Royal Family, Quick Style, 1 million. I said them all. Wait, did I? I don't know. Anyways, those are the names that are representing, and these are big, big names in the dance world just in general. And you see a lot of these athletes that are actually competing. They actually do pro gigs and they've done agency work and all of the commercial work that you could possibly think of. So to actually bring them into the same field and have them compete against each other, to me, is like where I've always wanted to see dance competition in general. They're getting paid, they have contracts, they get to travel around the world and literally compete against the best of the best in their field. I've been tracking and following IDL very closely, and I have some predictions that I want to share. Coming up is the Sydney location series. So that is going to be June 20th. I wish I could be there, but I am definitely going to be watching the live stream and I cannot wait to tune in. The matchups that we have is going to be Jam Republic versus GRV. That's going to be match 1. Match 2 is Quick Style versus 1 million. Match 3 is going to be Brotherhood versus Royal Family. So what happens is you have 6 judges and then you have a fan vote. Each team is going to go versus head-to-head. So for example, Jam Republic versus GRV. Now your goal is you want to score the highest out of each judge because that is how you're going to get your points total. 6 total points are available from the judges. Then you have 1 fan vote where the fans that are watching online as well as in person are able to scan a QR code and vote for who they think should win the round. So that's like the tiebreaker for some of these matches that we've seen. We've seen it go 3-3 and then it's ultimately up to the fans to break that tie. It is pretty incredible. That's not really something that we see in sports world, like fans are able to be that common denominator for ties or just to put in your opinion alone. That is something I wonder if that's going to continue going, like when the sport actually grows and the league grows, because I think I heard them say their next, I'm pretty sure it was like 8 teams, so 2 teams that would be joining into the league that we'd be able to see actually compete in the same match. So my point is as it continues, and not the same match, in the same league, whatever. Cut that out if I have to. As it continues, as the season progresses and continues and we see seasons go by, there's going to be a lot of teams, like 3 matches, probably not. It's probably going to end up being like 6 matches with all of these teams competing head to head. How long is that fan vote actually going to be relevant into the actual competition versus like a head judge or having a 7th judge and just allowing judges pick the rounds that move on? It does give, the fan vote does give it a very America's Best Dance Crew feeling where we're able to vote at home. Like that's something that we see very commonly with dance competition television. The fans vote at home and the fans always choose whoever moves on. Okay, anyway, so moving on to Sydney location, we have Jam Republic versus GRV. Now, something important to think about when I'm looking at these matchups is I'm always looking at the ranges where these teams are completing so far. Some teams could have really large ranges and some teams have a little bit of a small range. So Jam Republic's scoring right now is actually an 82 to 89. Now that 82 is pretty low. They did get that in their first competition in New York, match 1. They did not move on to match 2. And then they scored an 88.35 in Vancouver against Quick Style. And then in Vancouver, they're round 2 because they did end up winning that first match. They went against Brotherhood and 1 million, and they got an 86.17. So with Jam Republic, we saw a trend go up. They jumped from 82 to an 88, but then we saw it slowly trickle down, which I'm not mad at. That 82 to 88, like a 6-point jump is fine, and then a 2-point trend down going for that match 2, that's fine. So they're kind of getting an understanding of where the competition lies. Now, GRV is the only team that has not made it past round 1. They got beat in New York, then they got beat in Vancouver. I was actually surprised Quick Style did beat GRV. I did a whole reaction video to it. Go watch it on my TikTok and collaborated with No Counts Given on YouTube. But anyways, I was going to say, I did not think Quick Style was actually going to beat GRV, but Quick Style did beat GRV. Now, I do think GRV is going to beat Jam Republic in Sydney. Now, GRV is ranging in 86 to a 91. Now, this is only coming from 2 scores because they only have 2 scores available for us to see. So I am predicting GRV is going to come back very heavy in Sydney, and I do think they are going to beat Jam Republic, scoring 1-6, meaning GRV is going to get 6 total points. I am leaving 1 total point to Jam Republic. I do think the fan votes have been a little low for GRV, so that's why I'm predicting that there will at least be 1 point for Jam Republic being the fan vote. But I do think out of all judges, GRV can completely swipe the competition against Jam Republic. All right, let's look at Quick Style versus 1 Million. Now, this one's a little bit harder because they are trending a little close to each other. However, when we look at Quick Style scores, they're trending down since their first round. So it's like they brought their best piece their first round, and then New York round 2, and then Vancouver round 1. They did not bring anything that could score higher than that first round. So they did get an 89 New York round 1. New York round 2, they were going against Brotherhood Royal Family. Brotherhood ended up winning, and Quick Style here scored an 89.83. So it went up a little bit, 89 to that 89.83, but then Vancouver dropped 5 points to that 84. So given that they have those 2 routines that are scoring in that 89 range, I do think they could come back and score a little bit higher going into Sydney. However, competing against 1 Million, who is scoring a range of 85 to an 88. 1 Million is starting to trend a little bit down as well, too. They started off in the 87.33, then Vancouver won, they went to an 87. Round 2 in Vancouver, they went to an 85.5. So dropping down first 0.33 and then almost 5 points total is not great. However, I think it's going to be tight. I think it's going to be close. I think judges can go both ways with this one. However, I am going to say I think Quick Style is going to come out and take that win, winning 4-3. So 4 judges, and I do think 1 Million is probably going to get a fan vote. I'm not sure if Quick Style is a fan favorite yet. I haven't really totaled the fan votes yet. I'm mainly working based off scores right now. But I do think they could get that fan vote. However, I think Quick Style could ultimately win for the judges. All right. Now, Brotherhood versus Royal Family. Now, this one's a little tricky because if you've been watching Brotherhood at IDL, you just know that they are just mastering the art of IDL already, and it's only been 2 location stops. So when you look at Brotherhood scores, look, they scored a 94.51 in New York round 1. Round 2 at New York, they had an 80. Take that back. They are not scoring in the 80s. 93.16 in Vancouver round 1. Vancouver round 2, they had a 92.99. So they are constantly in that 92 to almost 99 range. Now, Royal Family is having a little bit of trouble. Royal Family right now is at an 85 to like an 87 range. They have not been able to break out of the 86 range. They have not been able to get higher than that 86. I do think Royal Family could come back and score higher, like 88s, 89s. I don't think they're going to hit the 90s yet. I do think Brotherhood is just going to continue staying in that trend of like 95 plus. And Brotherhood is like the team to watch out for right now. Brotherhood is the team. If I knew I had to go against Brotherhood, I would probably be shaking in my boots because there's just something about them that they just understand the score sheet so well, but also understand how to play like to the audience, but not let the audience appeal be too overwhelming where they're removing captions from the score sheet. Like everything is so thought out. So I do think Brotherhood is going to win that round against Royal Family. And I think I'm going to make some people mad, but I think I think Brotherhood is going to win 7-0. I think they are just going to whop the competition. Now, I'm not saying that I don't think Royal Family could come up and get better and start scoring a little bit higher, because I do think they are going to do that, but I don't think Brotherhood is going to start scoring any lower just yet. My top 3 predictions for Sydney. I think with GRV moving on to that second round, like the fire that has to be underneath you to finally move on to that second round. And I feel like something crazy is going to come from GRV. I feel like we're going to see a complete turnaround soon from GRV. They've already been competing so well, but just like getting into the competition and the captions and the cleaning and just really focusing on the art of the competition, I think they're going to figure it out by Sydney. And I think GRV is going to be first. I think Brotherhood is going to be second. And I think Quick Style is going to be third. All right, let's get into some Blind items. Roll the intro.
I think it was this guy named Kyle Rush.
They're moving over. We call that a hater.
All right, we have 4 blind items. Some asking for advice. Actually, I think all 4 of them are asking for advice. Actually, I think that's what a blind item does. Before we get into the blind items, by the way, if you want to send us a blind item, the next ones that we're going to be covering are going to be our voicemails. You could go to speakpipe.com/nocountsgiven. You could also find it on our link tree. All messages that are sent are always anonymous. That is the point of a blind item. No one's going to know where it's coming from, who it's coming from. Now, it's up to me to share it, put my name behind it, and give my own opinions on it. And I think that's the fun part about blind items. So let's get into our first blind item. This person said, I wanted to get your thoughts on something I've been wondering about when it comes to UDA and NDA high school national championship. No, UDA and NDA high school championships. What do you think about private performing art schools competing against public schools in the same categories? I understand talent is talent and every team works hard, but it feels like there may be a major difference in resources. Some of these performing arts schools have dancers training throughout the school day, access to specialized classes, and potentially more funding or outside support than a typical public school program. Do you think it's fair to place them in the same category when the level of training, schedule structures, and financial resources can be so different? I'm not trying to take anything away from a team's success, but I do think it raises a real conversation about competitive balance, especially when the playing field may not look the same for every program. I'd love to hear your honest take on this. Okay, my honest take on this. I've never actually thought of this. This is my first time actually hearing this. I could see why it would be a problem for some teams. Okay, but however, hear me out. Most athletes that are competing on a high school program are most likely training at a dance studio as well too. If you have a successful high school program, a lot of those kids probably do come from, sorry, let me take it back for a second. If you're competing at the UDA high school or DTU level and you're not competing novice, you're not competing intermediate, you're competing in the most advanced divisions that are offered, which I think only NDA and UDA offer intermediate. DTU does not. However, besides the point, what I would say is if you're one of those top programs, your kids probably already come from a dance studio training background and are probably benefiting by going to dance studio training while you're still in the program. I think there comes an issue when high school dance coaches don't allow their dancers to compete at a studio. Now, I'm not saying don't allow, but it's in the contract, but you build your schedules to make high school dance team your one and only priority. I feel like all studio coaches and all studio owners have probably been there. And I'm sure vice versa too. A lot of high school coaches have been there where studios don't want to hand over their dancers. However, my point is that the training you get outside of your regular practices is completely up to you. I get that they might be training throughout the day and then probably having a practice in the evening when school's done, but that schedule can look very different vice versa if you're having your practices immediately after practice and then allowing the space for your dancers to actually go train at a studio and get that additional training. So if I'm a coach and I'm struggling with the thought process, private performing arts schools are getting an advantage because they just have more training time, I would put my dancers in an environment where they could also get the same or close to the same amount of training time. A lot of these dancers, all because you go to a private performing arts school, does not mean you're going to be a great dancer. What you put into the sport and what you put into the art is what you're going to get out of it. And if I want to become a better dancer, that means training even more, even outside of practices, so that way I could get even better. So that's my honest take of it. I don't see a really big problem with it. I really don't. And it's not like private performing arts schools are the ones that are dominating every single division as well too. So that's my honest take of it. I think it is a valid conversation and a valid thought process. I'm sure there's going to be people with different opinions. So that's what I would say on it. All right, here we go. Number 3. All right, we're getting into 2 big ones. Yeah, the next 2 ones are pretty long, so I might have to break it up as I actually go because I'm gonna forget details. All right. My dancer started competitive dance a couple years ago at a smaller local studio. At first, it felt like a perfect fit. She was new, eager, and just happy to be in the room. But pretty quickly, she started progressing faster than anyone expected. Shout out. That's just natural talent, if you ask me. If you're progressing faster than most people that have been at the studio, then yeah, that's definitely natural talent. By her first season, she was given a solo. Wow, moved up levels and started placing really, really well. That should have been exciting, but instead it seemed to put a target on her back. One of the main teachers at the studio has daughters who also compete, and ever since my daughter started placing above them, the energy has completely shifted. Yep, I already know exactly where this is going. It's not always obvious enough for people to call it out, but it's obvious enough for my daughter to feel it. There are little comments, side eyes, backhanded corrections, moments where her wins are brushed off or made to seem undeserved. Instead of celebrating a kid who is working hard, but it feels like this teacher is quietly trying to humble her. All right, before I even continue, one thing I want to say is I don't know if it's going to be in here, but I am already curious if you've had any one-on-one conversations with said teacher. I don't know if like maybe there was something that happened at a competition where maybe your daughter won and there wasn't an immediate congratulations, or things were just moved on and things go. I will say for dance teachers, if I want to play both sides, at competitions, things can be moving so fast. I know there's times where awards happen and I already got to go backstage for my next performance, and I'm not even able to congratulate the soloist or the dancer that just won a first place or a second place or whatever. However, let's continue because I'm curious to see where this continues to go. Meanwhile, the teacher's own kids are constantly featured. Yep, that's usually how it goes. Front and center, lead parts, prime placements, the kind of favoritism everyone sees, but nobody wants to say out loud because they don't want drama or retaliation. The studio owner is rarely around, so this teacher basically controls the room, and this is where I'm struggling. Because how do you advocate for your child when the person creating the problem is also the person deciding casting, placements, opportunities, and how your child is treated in class? My daughter is now 13 years old. She loves to dance, loves her friends, and still has other teachers at the studio she really cares about. But I can see the situation starting to dim her confidence. She went from feeling excited to feeling like she has to apologize for being successful. Part of me wants to leave after this season and find a healthier environment, but another part of me is scared. What if she doesn't fit in somewhere else? What if another studio has the same politics with a different logo on the door? Oof. I think in this instance, there needs to be a very serious sit down conversation with you and your daughter. Is this going to be safe for your mental health to continue? Are you okay with possibly not getting as many features or as many solos, right? The next sit down I would do is I would sit down with the studio owner and the teacher without my dancer present. And I would want 100% transparency. And how you leave filling that room after that meeting, I think will tell you enough. If you feel secure, if you feel heard, you feel understood, then you know what? Give it another round, see if things change this year. If you feel like things were not listened to, if you feel like your voice was not heard, I would leave. There is not enough money in this world that could make me want to keep my kids somewhere. Mind you, I'm not a parent, but if I was, keep my kids somewhere where they feel like they are small, they are not seen, they are not heard, their their opportunities are being torn away from them, because you're just going to create, not you, let me take that back for a second, not you as the parent, this environment is going to create a very, very toxic and traumatic environment for your daughter. If you want your daughter to continue and continue to grow and seek opportunities after she's done with the studio, going to college, going to commercial, I would probably go somewhere that is going to offer my daughter a healthy environment. I would do my research beforehand. I would look at Yelp reviews. I would reach out to parents and I would ask their true, honest thoughts. And I would probably go somewhere else. I don't think it's worth keeping your daughter in an environment where they just don't feel like they are a part of a culture. I feel like the fun part of being a dancer at a studio, especially when you're competing, is you feel like you're a part of a culture. All right, here we go. Last one. I wanted to submit something anonymously because I think it speaks to a bigger issue happening in high school dance programs right now. I was recently removed from my position as a high school dance coach after months of conflict with one parent, and honestly, I still feel like I'm trying to process how it all happened. This was not a situation where expectations were unclear. My program had a contract, team standards, financial expectations. Families were made aware of what it took to be a part of the team and what the expectations were if they didn't want their athlete to participate in nationals. This issue started when one parent repeatedly challenged those standards. This parent also held a leadership position in our boosters organization, which made the entire situation even more complicated. Nationals became one of the biggest breaking points. Families were given clear options. They could fundraise, pay their portions, or they could choose not to participate. This family chose to opt out. But after making that decision, I was criticized for continuing forward with athletes and families who did choose to go. First thing I would say is I wonder in the contract, did you mention that it was like, what was it, a survey? Yes, we want to go. No, we don't want to go. Or was it, yes, I opt out of nationals and I do not want to travel to nationals with the team, or something along those lines. So listen, I've been in my days where when you are talking to dance parents, you have to talk to them like they're preschoolers. You have to dot your I's and cross your T's, and you have to tell them how exactly everything goes, and you have to just lead them the way like they are a little toddler. They have to know every single thing. I'm not saying all dance parents are like that, but there's always going to be that one parent, especially in high school sports, that just has to make sure that they know every single detail, even though it is in a registration book or a contract right in front of them, because parents do not like to read. Anyways, things got worse when this parent's athlete lost a leadership role after not meeting the expectations required for that position. All right, I already see where this is going. There was some kind of retaliation. I know how these high school dance moms are. Listen, I know how it is. After that, the communication became constant. Emails, complaints, accusations, and information being sent to administration and eventually the district. This is such a hard situation. This is such a hard situation. The part that still does not sit right with me is that there was no real formal investigation. Other athletes were not interviewed, other families were not asked about their experience. The full team culture was not truly evaluated. It feels like the loudest complaint became the official story. Oof. And what makes this even harder is that our program just had accomplished something huge. We placed second at nationals after years without a title. The team was growing, the athletes were improving, and competitively, the program was finally breaking through, getting second place at nationals. So my question is, how are we as coaches supposed to lead with standards if one parent can challenge every boundary until the district decides the coach is easier to remove than the conflict? All right, so parents are so hard. Listen, I remember one of my very first high school dance team coaching jobs. I was, I want to say I was maybe 20. And while I didn't know everything, I knew enough to coach a high school team. And it was parents. It was honestly the parents that ultimately ran me away from that position. It was just so much. They think that it's like a full-time job. That's the first frustration. When you're a high school dance coach, I don't think a lot of these parents understand you're getting paid a stipend. You get paid twice, maybe three times a year, and it's enough to maybe cover your rent. So like it's not the best position out there, and it's hard because a lot of people that actually do coach high school sports are people that really love the sport deep down. I'm not just talking about dance. Like I know all of my high school coaches, I just know loved every single part of the sport, whether it was track and field, whether it was football, whether it was basketball. They just loved every single part of the sport. And as an adult, as I got older, I'm like, wow, I already know that these coaches were not paid anything, but they put their heart and soul into it. And those are things that the district doesn't care about. What they care about is just saving face. What is going to make their district look good? And if that means not getting any more complaints and emails from parents, yeah, they're probably going to remove the coach because they always will go to the parents. I feel like they always just favor parents first. It's hard to find athletic directors and superintendents or principals that are really going to actually appreciate what you're trying to build, because everything revolves around football nowadays. Anyways, besides the point, I think it's hard because these districts and schools and high schools, they just really need to learn how to care for and support their athletes. And I think with what you're saying, with athletes weren't getting interviewed, there was no formal investigation on whatever was happening. Like, it just goes to show you that maybe that wasn't the place for you. And maybe you need to go find somewhere that is actually going to value you. And when you're interviewing, I think this is a great learning opportunity. So that way, when you're interviewing for your next position, be candid. Talk about your past experience and talk about what you're not looking for from the district or from the athletic trainer or whoever's supporting the dance team program. Tell them what you are looking for. And if they agree with you, they'll take you on. If they don't agree with you, then it wasn't meant for you. Let them go. Yeah, I think that's what I got to say about that. I am so sorry that happened to you. I know that this year I saw a social media clip of someone saying that, one of their friends got fired recently. One of my friends also got fired from their position, actually, like, quietly removed from their position, which just disgusted me. And like, two of my friends in the East Coast, I know, got fired from their positions as well too. And it's always no explanation. There's never an explanation. It's just, yep, sorry, it's not going to work out. We're going to go a different route, but good luck. I'm over it. Well, again, sorry that happened to you, and I wish you the best of luck. I hope you find a position that fits you and fits the culture that you're trying to build. All right, here we go. Listen, we got a long interview here. We have Courtney and Ashley from the Source Dance Lab. I'm not going to give background right now on the situation that happened. You're going to hear a little bit about it in the interview that I did. This interview is fully about transparency at USASF Worlds and what is being rewarded, what is not being rewarded, some discrepancies that we're finding, and trends that have been going on for years at USASF Worlds. So take a listen to this interview that I had with Courtney and Ashley. Sit back, buckle up. It's about an hour long. It is very good, though. Very fun conversation. Before we get into it, though, I do want to say major thank you to Courtney and Ashley. I just appreciate both of you. And I appreciate that we're not always agreeing on the same thing, but we could sit back and we could have conversations and we could be honest with each other and share feedback or whatever it is that we have to do and still have respect for one another. Those are the kind of relationships I value. So here we go. Give it up to Courtney and Ashley. Woo! Yay! Here we go.
As a coach, I think that dance is evolving, and I don't know if the competition world and industry is pushing to get the change. This is how it's done. This is our protocol. This is what we do.
The industry is lacking creativity. The story that was always told to us is, well, it's been this way for many years.
We want your money. We want your team. Here's your box. We don't want you to do any more.
Certainly organizations didn't appreciate my kids and didn't allow them to grow. I'd always felt like they'll just replace you with another team. Like in an abusive relationship, the cycle needed to end.
DTU is setting the tone for what the path forward should be.
Even though it was scary, it was the right choice to make the jump. I saw weight lifted off of my kids and they felt hungry again.
We are like a complete 180 of a program.
Because of Dance Team Union's philosophy, everyone in the school has more respect for the dance team.
From registering for camp all the way through the nationals.
DTU is going to support you
and make your program better. What do you need? What can we do for you? How can we help your dancers?
They build us up as coaches and they're like, go out there and just do your job.
That was us. That is the best you've ever done.
Anyone that comes into the DTU family will feel that they have a personal relationship with the DTU staff.
At the end of nationals, I get a phone call from somebody and we have an honest conversation.
Very transparently, we love this, we don't love this.
And I'm heard.
There is so much freedom
with music and costuming,
choreography rules.
They want you to go out there and be the boldest team that you can be.
When I think about what we have now that we didn't before, it's a voice.
What those kids really can do is so much more than what you see on a sideline. It's their time to shine.
They feel like the stars of the show.
They were seen and respected and empowered.
That's going to give you that push to go out there and perform a little bit bigger. That's where you see breakthrough.
Give the people what they want.
If you want phenomenal communication,
If you're sick of your dancers not being heard,
If you're serious about change, be part of the change.
Break the mold. We're not in a box. We can be bold and we can be ourselves.
Be you. It's one of the best decisions that I've made as a dance coach.
I'm so happy to be here right now.
I don't know where you guys haven't touched. So can you guys just like kind of give me a little bit more of that background of like what you guys do throughout a season and circuits you've been to?
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. So
And every year does change.
every year does change,
Oh, yeah?
but yeah, well, we just try to like switch it up sometimes, or every like 2 or 3 years, our clients want, they want to change.
Yeah,
And I feel like because we're from the New Jersey, New York area, it's so transient that like there's always new stuff like coming to us. Courtney's just exiting because our dog has to get, my parents' dog has to be let in. So we have, I know, it's just like, this is what it's like being a studio owner, a coach, a mom, a wife. No one sees this part of it.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
we compete at like the regular regional circuit of dance, like meaning like the Star Powers, the Beyond the Stars, the Journeys, the True Talents. That's where you're gonna really like the traditional dance. That's what I'm trying to say. Like if you're familiar with Dance Moms, at the circuits that they would film at, like that's the traditional competitive dance world. And that's really where we all really started, and a lot of our routines go there. We do all styles, which people are like, oh, it was your first time in jazz. I'm like, no, it was our first time jazz at Worlds, but we've done jazz, contemporary, lyrical, like we do all that in this like regional competitive world. We also we didn't do it this past year, but World of Dance, we've done New York and New Jersey, and we've won it. I think 3 or 4 times. We've done Prelude, East Coast. We've done that 2 times.
And then we do like the convention.
We do the convention circuit.
Like the breakaway events,
Revel. We do those, and then we do All Star. So we really expose our kids to everything, and
we used to do Monsters.
Oh, we used to do Monsters and Chaos. Like
love Monsters.
Yeah, and Courtney, like you were back in the day at Monster, like nappy tabs.
Oh yeah, like I was
Courtney,
like a Monsters like kid.
Hey,
I mean, I danced. So like I danced professionally before I opened up my first studio. So like I was one of the original like Pulse proteges with Jojo Gomez and Jay Hughes. I ended up taking a different direction because I loved teaching.
Yeah. So we expose them to everything.
No, go ahead.
No, we expose them to everything because of her background, and then like my sports background, and then my cheer background, and fusing it together. We were like, you never kind of know where life's going to take you. So if we only put our dancers in one box, they're only then trained one way, and they might turn 18 and be like, I want to go out to LA and be a commercial professional dancer, but all they've done is All-Star, and they only know one way. Or vice versa. They've only done commercial dance, and then they're like, I want to be on a college dance team, but I don't know. What is lines, columns? What do you mean I can't go off the floor? It's all different systems, right? It's all different parts of your brains. And for us, if our parents can handle it financially, but also their time, it was important for us to expose them to actually every path of dance.
All-Star is like secondary actually at our school. So, we have about 75 to 100 competitive athletes. Ooh, that's better.
Yeah.
But then we, only All-Star, we have, I would say about 30, and that's like between a junior and a senior team. So it's a very small portion of our studio.
Yeah. What made you guys want to even get into All-Star to begin with? Because, I mean, you guys could tell me when you started and why you wanted to get started.
Great story. So, so the first thing is back when Ash and I first met, back in about like 2009, 2010, we came across UNLV's Snapback and Tattoos. And
that was in 2012.
Iconic.
And that's what made us fall in love with UNLV, but also fall in love with this world.
And I was like, what is this?
What is this?
And I'm such like a big Disney person to begin with, and I made my wife it years later. But we're like, I love this. It's so like athletic, and hearing like the the sportscasters over talking about dance as a sport. So that was like the first thing. The second thing is back in, I want to say it's like 2016, 2017, when we opened up our studio, her and I, like typical coaches complaining to each other, like, how come the kids aren't auditioning more for CTG and block, and why don't they want to go to convention every weekend? So we actually surveyed our kids, because we had a small amount of kids who they were doing like the Justin Bieber tour, and we were like, what's wrong with you guys? Why don't you want it? And they raised their hand and they were like, well, I want to be an attorney, I want to be a nurse,
a doctor,
and I can't really pursue that, but I love dancing. So
and they wanted to go to college, and so we got in the car that night. And Court's like, what are we doing? I was like, I don't know. We just opened up the studio. Like, what is going on? And, all the things. And she goes, I really think we should look at the all-star route. And I was like, no. Like,
I don't know anything about it.
I knew it from cheer. And I was like, I don't know. Like, it's so, like, boxy and, like, and back then it was even more, we call it, like, Pictionary. Like, it was more picture-based. And I was like, I really like what we're doing. And she's like, no, I think this can be it. We can get kids to continue to dance for 4 more years, but go to college, right?
Yep.
At the same time, and get the degree to be the lawyer, the doctor, whatever, but they still get to dance. And that's it.
And that's
how it came about.
Started with a summit team. We placed 3rd the first year at summit, and then we started a world. And, we made it through semis. We finished at 17th. We didn't make it to finals, but then a week later.
We shouldn't have made it to finals.
It was so bad. A week later, because we were great dancers, but we just didn't know.
We didn't understand the flow
or the syllabus.
And that's correct. It's a big thing.
Different thing. And a week later, we took the same set, an extended version of the set, and we ended up winning 2nd place at World of Dance. So it was just like,
we lost. We got 17th at Worlds, and that year I think the senior small, and we've been in senior small for almost about like 9 years now, I think. And with the COVID year, it's like 8 or 9. Whatever. Yeah. And we were 17th out of 42. So to us, I was like, we made top 20. What? And then later we fly home, we go to World of Dance, New Jersey, and we get 2nd with the same routine. So
in the adult division.
Wow.
And that kind of, I was like, all right, it's the formula. Let's figure this out. And that next year we reached out to Nappy Tabs, and they did our routine. And then we got connected with Nappy Tabs. That was a cool experience. Anthony Kinn, he came out to Jersey. We had a great routine. And then COVID kind of slammed us in the face. But that routine did great. But that kind of opened our eyes to the formula, the collegiate world, and it really started us planning for the next 5 years. And now we're here. We're in 2026.
Wow. So this year at World, I want to explain the process to World. So let's go. Did you guys get your bid at Jam Fest this year for small?
No, we got our bid actually at CDE. It's like Cheer and Dance Extreme in Oxon Hill, Maryland.
And that was a paid bid or partial paid? Yeah. Okay.
Well,
so
yeah.
For us dancers, that's like our paid bid. We don't really have that paid for like Cheer does. But for those that don't know, you go to competitions. I feel like a lot of people probably know the all-star route, but just to explain it briefly, you go to these national events, you want to compete, you want to get one of the highest scores. It's like they give a partial pay to like highest open or highest senior team, and then teams are awarded. I don't know if it's the same amount. I've been out of the USASF role, but I'm pretty sure it's like $5,000 that you get towards like your registration or something. Yeah, okay. And then that's considered like the paid bid. However, it used to be very different back then where partial paids, like you would skip the first round, you would end up in the second round, and then you would perform like in that last set of brackets, as that's what like that partial paid bid recipient would get. That was different this year. Like, and you guys noticed that before Worlds even happened. So what happened there?
So before we go into this, I just want to put like a PSA, because I know.
I was about to say also. Go ahead.
I just want to put a little PSA out there, because I know after we posted, there was a lot of back and forth, and we received a lot of calls from studio owners, from
gym owners,
from judges, from varsity. And then
thank you for mentioning judges, because I forgot to write that on my note, but that's a conversation that needs to happen, because I did see what happened on social media. But continue going, please.
Yes. And Yeah, so I'm glad you're noting that because it's very important.
Yeah.
So I do want to just say that like I know that like, and I said this to you when we spoke prior, that we don't have to agree on everything, and whether there's some things that you say or I say, but I think that that's healthy, and I feel like you and I have always been able to have real conversations and respectful conversation. I think that's something really big that the industry is lacking right now, and somewhere along the way, disagreement has got treated like disrespect, and questions are attacks, and I think that it's just like dangerous for the industry. And I believe we should be able to challenge systems with hard questions and have a mutual respect though at the same time. And that's why I actually felt comfortable with coming on to this podcast, not because we expect everyone to agree with it, but conversations like this should be allowed to happen. It shouldn't feel that you shouldn't have an opinion. And, a huge part of this entire situation is it exposes to people in the industry they're scared to talk for all different reasons. And it's not that they don't have opinions or concerns. They're just afraid of the backlash, the politics, losing opportunities, and being labeled difficult. And that's what keeps the culture, it stops the culture from evolving.
Yeah.
So even if people today disagree with parts that like we're saying, that's okay. Like, I feel like that's the point of this like whole conversation in itself.
I agree. I want to add on to that as well too, because there might be like some topics where it might feel like, we're not saying everything verbatim, right? And I want to make sure that we're sticking onto the topic of the subject alone. So this is not coming towards any program. This is not coming towards any choreographers. This is not coming. I think the rankings of how Small Senior turned out were respectful. I think there are a lot of questions though with the transparency side to the rankings. I know I'm already probably going to say it a billion times before this interview even starts in the episode, but I could say it a billion times and people will still try to come for my neck. So, but I do appreciate that we could have conversations, and I know you don't agree with everything I say and vice versa, but we can have these respectful conversations, and that's what pushes an industry to grow. What pushes an industry to grow is not a 2-minute routine that hits the floor. It is the transparency around that routine is how we're going to push the industry to grow. So I appreciate you coming on and talking. So anyway, back to what we were saying.
No, I think it's important because I think we're both going to go into something really bigger than the both of ourselves.
I agree.
And I feel like you had a lot of heat on your back the last year or so. And I think it's just because you're opening your mouth, and silence makes people who are in power more powerful. They want you to be silent. And someone said to us, it was a judge, and said that you're doing something really hard, but it's really important. So keep going, even if it feels impossible. And when that judge said that to us, this was like a week after Worlds, we had a conversation, and I looked at Courtney and I said, this is bigger than us. So I know going into this, it's going to get a little deep for people, but just know we're not just us or Kyle, we're not discrediting
anything. I think it just shows that both parties, we want to see the industry grow because we do care about it. We've seen so many programs in the past who just kind of bow out and then take a different change of course, especially, and maybe it's just because of our background, we've noticed that in the hip hop division, and we don't want to just bow out and just, go on our day because we love what we do, and I see the importance, but the system is just broken. So like, what can we do to try to fix it?
I agree. Okay. I have that same, I want to tag on to that too though. I feel like I've been watching Worlds as long as both of us have been, and anyone that sits there, and I know that there are parents that have probably been to Worlds for years, and it's not a blind eye. Like, we all see things that are happening. We all see scores. Luckily, that part of the transparency is out there where we can look at scores. I can't see everyone's captions, and I can't see what judges are scoring, so that's what troubles me in some areas. But there's that part of transparency where, I completely agree. Anyways, let's go to the partial paid. So you usually get a partial paid. You usually perform semifinals, end of the bracket. It was different this year. Can you guys explain it to me from your POV?
Yeah, so like you said, usually getting a partial paid is an honor. And so when we first started Worlds, when we placed that 17th, we didn't get a partial paid. We got an at-large, and we performed in the very early part of the division because it was an honor. And we knew going into that next year, in order to stand a chance to even get into the top 10 to compete against those top dogs during that era of senior small hip hop and world, we had the first step was that partial paid bid. So we get the partial paid bid, we get it early on out this season, and that's always our goal, get it as early as we can, get the feedback, and then from there just build the routine. Get the partial paid, season goes, and we get the schedule for Worlds. Actually, our kids got it before we did because there wasn't an email sent, so you just had to go online, which that was different too, but I mean, maybe it was the internet, I don't know, whatever. And our kids were like, we're going first. And I said, what?
I was like, no, there has to be a mistake.
I said, you guys are reading it wrong. So I go to the website, and we are first in a 3-hour division. We went 3.5. We went on at 9:02, 9:04-ish, whatever. And the last team went on around like 12:04, 12:06, in that range. And there was routines in between, which is normal for semifinals. And then there was like a 30 or 15 to 30 minute break in between because the judges are human. And immediately I said, yeah, we need to reach out to someone. So I emailed 6 different people because it's very hard to find emails to get in contact with someone. Very hard. Like you have a point of contact, but they don't really get back to you like in a good window. And because it was so close to Worlds,
I get it. They're
probably so busy, and I get that. So I reached out to every email I could possibly find on the internet, and I finally got a response. And basically, I didn't just say, hey, like I don't want to go first. I was just like, hey,
I think it was more like,
is this
correct? Like.
Because in past histories, if you got that partial paid bid, you were in the second half of the show because of the honor, and the at-larges were in the front. So I said, if this is accurate, is there another way that maybe we can do this? Because it just seems, it just doesn't sit well with us.
And can I add on to that?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure, I remember too, because you guys said you guys got your bid early on in the season. I feel like I remember it being in that order. Like the earliest you got your bid, because that's when you would register by, that's when you would perform. So usually it's like the first person that gets that bid is usually like the last person to perform, because that's the honor of getting that partial early versus you get the at-large, then you upgrade to the partial. You're going to be at the bottom half of that partial paid bracket. Yeah. I remember it being that way. I could be wrong though.
I don't know the exact order of how they used to do it. All I know is partial paid was the honor, and it was the second half, and that was always our goal. Like just get the partial paid so that way we could be up against the best of the best
and make it feel.
And wait, let me just say that too before people take this clickbait and make it something. I'm not saying if you get an at-large, you're not the best, but I've been in those shoes. I've been 24th. I've been 17th.
The year that we got in senior small, we did not get a full paid bid until later, and it just because we got knocked out by Jazz and Pop.
It just happens. But according to Worlds and the standard from all these years, from what you can remember too, Kyle, the best teams always had the partial paid bid, and those are the teams that you wanted a chance to compete against. So when I was 17th, I'm in how we talk to our kids, we are not the best then here yet. We're not even touching top 10. I don't even get to compete. At the time, the big dogs were Legendary and Pittsburgh Athletics. They were the top dogs, and I just wanted a chance to just be around them. I didn't even care about competing next to them. I just wanted to be in the realm of it, and that's no more. So when that was questioned, the response back was just very the at-large people feel like it's an unfair advantage, which I get too. But then what's the point of the partial paid?
What's the point of chasing bids? Then you might as well just go to one event.
And it doesn't matter what you get.
It doesn't matter, instead of...
I agree.
A lot of events don't come near New Jersey, so we have to travel. So then might as well just save our parents money, go to one, get the invite, and then go. And I think for us, why we questioned a little bit more, we did all the research we could. Our kids were doing it. We were the only current gold medalist in any division that was opening up a division. Why?
I was just about to mention that. Yep.
Yeah, it just kind of seemed, and they told us that it's like an app. They used to do it where they used to pick it out of a hat, but then because of crossovers, and I do remember that at a time. And then the crossovers, and that became crazy, and I get it, putting together, things, like even like something as at a small scale, like a recital, and you have crossovers, I understand that. It just didn't sit well with us.
But we're a small program, so there was the crossovers, and we literally said, we're like, I'll switch my jazz, So.
Yeah, and I'm gonna say it too. Like, I don't care who I am. I think if you're the gold medalist, you should not be performing gold medalist from the previous year. You should not be performing first in a division, period. Unless it's like you come out of semifinals and you're ranked last, then sure, go first.
Yeah.
But if you are the returning champions, you're coming back with the partial paid bid, you should have the privilege of performing in one of those last bracketed spots. I remember also, no one can turn a blind eye to the flow dance post that went up with the predictions, and then that just kind of went everywhere. But I do want to say, because I do predictions myself, I love doing predictions. I feel like, I will say, I give a little background when I give predictions. I explain why I think a team's gonna place XYZ. So when I saw it, it didn't rub me the wrong way. I actually liked it. I love a little competitive edge. But seeing that you guys were ranked, what was it, first in the prediction, and then to see on the schedule.
Well, there was 3 slides. The first slide was us ranked first, and then we were ranked second, and then we were ranked third. So it was the same three teams, just kind of
just switched around. But there were the same 3 teams picked out of, I don't even remember how many were small senior. It's probably the largest division at Worlds.
7 or
it was like qualifications in order to be eligible.
So that's what I was gonna say. Like, and if I think people didn't listen. I've talked to a lot of coaches, and some of them don't care. They feel how you do, and some of them are like, that was completely wrong. I came from a cheer background, so cheer's been doing this for a while. They treat it very much like a sport, like the Super Bowl. And the minute that we want dance to feel like a sport, we complain about it. So, like, which way is it?
You're speaking my language. You are speaking my language.
And people can say that's easy for us to say because our name was on the board, but
no, I wouldn't have cared.
With all due respect, our name should be on the board because from past years we have proven results, and so has had Dollhouse and so has had Legendary. Now, I'm not saying any other team is discounted, but if we want to treat it like a sport, like the Super Bowl, like it's very simple to say, the Chiefs are going to rank this year. I don't even know the Super Bowl. Like, I'm just saying.
No, I agree. But I feel like it also gives an opportunity for athletes to start rallying behind your program if you're not listed. Like, hey, you need to pay attention to dance dynamics or someone, and then like it starts a conversation. So, I agree. I'm on the sports side, but I get both sides. I get it.
And Flow Dance, they wrote, if you went to their website, it was based off of 5 USASF sanctioned competitions. They took the scores from there, and that's what it was ranked. Now you have sub-off competitions. You have like CDE, which is it's a off-brand. You have CG, it's an off-brand, but they don't have to technically submit their scores to varsity or on the varsity website, which a lot of people don't understand that. So that's why certain teams weren't listed up there, even though they might have been getting as high scores as we.
Yeah,
you just maybe went to an off-brand. Flow Dance was basing it off of I think it was like Jam Fest, UDA, like a few, like there's 5. And that's the methodology behind it. There was no opinions or favoritism going before it.
No,
but
it's just stats.
The rankings explode online. The schedule drops 2 days after. Prediction favorites open, open the division. We open it. And then the rankings suddenly disappear. We get...
Oh, yeah, I remember that. And then it pops up the next day and it was like blank. They were like, Blake, fill in your own names.
Yeah. So even if everything was coincidental, the optics were just terrible.
Yeah. I want to ask, though, do you feel, because whenever I've done predictions, I've never gotten pushback like the way Flow Dance does. Do you feel like that pushback is happening because people see the politics that happen behind some of these companies? So they're like, here we go. It's in front of our face. We're starting to see it. Tricky question.
It's actually us because we're a smaller program. So
for sure.
we only have 14 kids in our senior small, and then we have 20 in the large team. That's all we're bringing.
We worked really hard to get where we are. I mean, one of our goals have always been, I want flow dance just to cover us. And, that's just, we're that small. I think there was a lot of heat around senior small hip hop, and I think it flowed from UDA, from college nationals. I think actually every hip hop division did. And, negative, positive, I just think there was a lot of heat around senior small, and I don't really know why.
No, there was a lot of heat last season too.
But not like this season.
Not like this season, but our division is usually very tense. And there shouldn't be drastic drops in, etc. And sometimes there are. So I think that's what started to kind of ruffle.
But I just think it ruffled some feathers in some areas, and the comment section got heavy, and it just for me, I don't like poor sportsmanship, and I just think there was things going on that shouldn't have went on.
I agree. So let's get into actual Worlds. You guys go to Worlds. They didn't change the order. You guys did end up performing first out of your division. You guys got their scores back. Did you already predict what the scores were going to be, and what was the follow-up?
Yeah, we at home 3 weeks before we get the schedule, I emailed the 6 people, and Courtney and I have a real conversation, and I say, we're going to be in 5th or 6th.
And that's lucky.
And I said, and if we make it to 5th or 6th, it's very lucky. And I had a few conversations with a few people in the varsity circuit, and they're like, no. And then some people were like, yeah, but it's going to be tough. Like, no one's in denial of a 3.5-hour division you're opening up, and you're going to take, there's no way. The judges are not opening you up with anything higher than an 89. Okay? So we told our kids, but our kids are very intelligent when it comes to especially hip hop. As we said, they're well versed in different areas of hip hop styles, also different paths, of competition. They said it themselves. They're like, no, that's what we were just talking about. We're going to get 5th or 6th day one. So when we got our scores back, it did not surprise us. We weren't like, we were like, this is exactly where we should be. We called it. But you know what the problem is? And this is where the system's broken, and why I keep saying the system's broken. Why was I able to predict it 3 weeks before we even performed?
No kidding. Yeah. And going from your Jam Fest scores, you were scoring a 93. I think it was 93.67 or something like that.
95.63.
Yeah. And then going into Worlds, it was an 89, was it?
The final score was an 89.82 or something.
6 points is pretty big, and an 8.9 caption is very different from a 9.5 caption. They are both very telling in the differences. When you're seeing these captions, which are so different from your Jam Fest scores, who did you talk to? What was the approach? That's, in my opinion, that's a big difference. I've seen even bigger though. I think I told you on the phone that I've seen teams scoring early on in January, in the 95 range, and then exit out of Worlds with an 82. So it's the transparency in scoring and captions is just, it's unknown sometimes. And mind you, these are both varsity USASF events that I'm talking about.
So I want to start there.
I was going to start there. So the first part is when you're at Worlds trying to speak to someone, it's very hard. They have their front desk. I spoke to, can I say people's names on here?
Sure. I don't mind.
I think she was wonderful, and I think she deserves her flowers. I think Kinsasha, she is absolutely.
I love Kinsasha.
I love her.
She is the queen. Yeah.
She is. Besides her customer service, her soul, she's a genuine person. And
Can I say something about her really quick before I let you go on? I don't know if you remember, this happened last year, my entire thing that happened with USASF and all of the debacle. She was the only person to reach out to me and give me advice out of the entire company. And I adore her so much. So anyways, please continue.
Same. And that's why she's the only name I'll mention, because I feel like she deserves it. She listened to me for 7 hours. I went up to that desk. Kyle, I don't think we met with someone till 7:30 p.m. We were done. Wow. We got our results around 1:30, 1:45-ish.
Even that, our results were not emailed to us. We had to physically go.
Well, that was a big thing with the whole division. Certain people were getting their scores and certain people weren't getting their scores. And that's like a whole, I feel like that's a whole other topic.
Yeah.
But
I agree.
So that's crazy. So she is angel on earth. And if it wasn't for her, I don't believe that we would have been able to sit down with a panel of 3 directors. And she really pushed for us. And I was ready to sit and have dinner with them. I was like, "What do you guys want? Chipotle? We can, that's how long and how many times I went up to that desk." So those women, they have a hard job at that forefront, but they were wonderful, all of them that were at that front desk. But Kansasha being the head of that. Yeah. So when we met with them and we spoke about the rubric and consistencies, it was told to us that varsity and USASF, and they made this very clear, are 2 separate entities. Now, I always thought it was under the same umbrella, but how it was explained to us is USASF is a nonprofit, that they hire varsity to run their events. However, varsity has nothing to do with USASF's rules, guidelines, rubrics, all that stuff. So that's a little confusing to us because we've been doing this for over 10 years with varsity, and I didn't really know that. I'm going to be really honest with you.
How do you also have a pre-qualifying event under varsity to get you prepared for your feedback, etc., to bring you to Worlds, but then you're telling me it doesn't matter?
So that's where it's like the interpretation of the rubric, and it can be evaluated completely differently than how we arrive to Worlds. Like, so it just seems,
why have pre-qualifying events then? It's just about everyone an invitation to go.
Programs spend money, we travel, it's the choreography, the training, and then you're trying to understand the score system, but you don't really have what they're rewarding at the end of the day. So if the interpretation changes from event to event, and the strategy then becomes impossible, and the trust erodes. And I think that's kind of where we were super, super frustrated. The judges don't really change, though, even though people on the internet were like, the judges, they don't. I understand that the judging...
People were saying that? I missed that part.
Oh, people were saying World's judges are more qualified than JamFest judges, which is so insulting to varsity in itself because
actually, you're not allowed to judge. You're not allowed to judge Worlds unless you judge a USASF qualifier. So that doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. So there's a lot that has happened behind the scenes and what's being said, and it's unfortunate, but it doesn't make sense, and you can't make it make sense. So our routine didn't change from JamFest to Worlds. Now, day 1 at Worlds, our routine was a little different. We added a little bit more eye candy. You're trying to play the formation game. And after we were in 5th or 6th, I said, well, if JamFest gave us a 95 and we're at day 1, we were at an 88.56 for Worlds. I said, let's just go right back to the JamFest routine.
Our day 1 routine was more difficult. I'm going to just say it.
It was more difficult.
It was way more difficult than our day. We dumbed it down is basically what we did.
So we go back to the exact routine, which you can see A and B on our Instagram. Nothing actually changed, except actually nothing actually changed because the trick was the same, the mask, everything was the same. So, and then being told that it's because it's a harder event. It's not. We still have the highest score of the season at JamFest. But what will be told to us is that JamFest's rubric is not the same rubric as Worlds. Now, I'm going to go a little into the rubric. USASF's rubric for the senior category is the same category as jazz. Why is hip hop being compared to jazz? And that's where we question the system being broken, because ISASF, so if people are just listening, they're like lost now. At Worlds, you have USASF and ISASF. ISASF is for the international teams, and USASF is for the United States teams. ISASF, under their umbrella, is the open divisions and now the junior world divisions, because junior worlds are allowed to bring in international, and the USASF teams are only senior divisions. Why is their rubric different than the USASF rubric, but the judges don't change?
I agree. It does not make sense.
The ISASF rubric
is better.
It's so good. It's like stylistic, musicality, like all these things that would make sense,
like
to
dancing through transitions. Like it makes more. And our choreographer was actually at Worlds, and when we gave him our day 1, he goes, "Wait, he's like, we don't have this category. I said, what do you mean? And that's when we all started putting stuff together. And then we were told in a roundabout way, even though the category says something different, it all still means the same. And I said, no, it doesn't. It doesn't mean the same. You're telling the judges what they should be judging, and that's what they're judging. It's not the judge's fault. And I do want to preface that too. None of this is about the judges. We stuck up from them from the moment we got where we were going to be, like 3 weeks before Worlds, that they're not robots, they're people. And there's no way the judges can physically, still, and mentally judge the same they did at 9 a.m. versus 12 p.m.
No. And I mean, creatives in itself, they did tell us to ease our worry that there was something they called tracking. That they, I guess after the first team goes, that they track it and they're looking. No.
But even if they are doing that, is that right?
Well, let's talk about the tracking a little bit, because I'm very familiar with tracking, and I think if it was used correctly, it could be very beneficial. Score tracking is not mandatory for judges. And if you're telling a judge that in 5 minutes, they have to pencil write in, because tracking's on a pencil and piece of paper, so that you always have it right next to you versus what you're putting in a computer. In 5 minutes, I have to track and write down every single score as I'm writing this and put them in my computer, write all of the comments, and then hit send. It's not enough time. Now, tracking can be used very well if you know what you're doing. Like, I'm going to hype up Dance Team Union for a sec, or anyone that does audio critiques. I know Stage 8 does audio critiques as well, too.
Yeah.
If you're doing audio critiques, it's a little easier to track because I'm watching, I'm putting it in. As I'm tracking it down, then all I have to do is transfer it to the computer. I don't have to type a billion words for your description. So score tracking can be used very well, but I will tell you this now, a lot of judges don't use them. They don't use them. They're just there.
You know why? Because they're not robots. They're human.
They're not robots. They're human. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, 5 minutes is not enough time to do all of that work and then place 24 teams in the correct order. It's too much.
Well, that would make sense of why our feedback was minimal
compared to Jam Fest.
Jam Fest, we were getting, and I'm not saying it was constructive, like we were getting suggestions and critiques and
positivity, but it was like paragraphs. And at Worlds, it was almost like it had to be quick. And it was looking for nothing to work with, looking for reasons of why they're docking your score, instead of saying, like, listen, when you go through that wave, make sure you're articulating through the 5 steps of the wave. You're going fingers, knuckles, wrist, elbow, like shoulder, and then roll out. Like, and I don't blame the judges at all. I'm not blaming them at all.
It's the system they have to work with. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. And I want to add on too, because this is where I don't get me wrong. I think the judges that were at USASF and the directors do their job very well. But I will say there are some highly qualified judges that I know that are out there that I would love to see judge on a USASF panel. But if you have to tell them they have to track, type, comment, all of this in 5 minutes, they're going to turn the job down. And they're not going to want to go through the training to have to do all of that stuff with varsity or USASF. So I feel like the system is a little particular to bring in a certain line of judges, where it's really eliminating the possibilities that could allow the industry to grow beyond measures. We're behind. We are so behind in years with Dance Team and USASF and Worlds and all of that.
I think that's a very good way to put it. Behind, like very stuck in like 20 years. I know it's going to be their 20th anniversary, I think, next season. But, 2009. They're very stuck. And it's not progressive enough. Wow. And they have one solution to fix a problem, and it's not a solution. And that's all I'll say on that, because, and I'm just talking about hip hop. Hip hop has so much more to it than what
transitions and lines.
Yes,
and
I
think that's why you're saying, like, there are so many more qualified judges out there, but they won't do it, and they won't do it because it's going to discredit them as an athlete, but as an artist.
And that's why it was told to us that you guys are so well versed in hip hop and these other teams aren't, so we need to find a happy middle ground. And that's when I was like, we're gonna get nowhere. Let's be polite Because what they're trying to tell me is they need to find a middle ground so more people come. Because if it's too hip hop heavy, they're not going to have enough teams, and it's going to discourage people.
But then we respectfully said, well, with all due respect, then you cannot call it hip hop.
No.
Because you're calling it hip hop, and on your website it says the stylistics and the
emphasis
of different styles. And then when we asked them, she's like, well, what did your feedback say? And I was like, well, they said something about one of our locking sections. And she goes,
that we have to relax our wrist rolls. Okay. Which I actually kind of agree.
That's fine, I agree. So I go, okay. And she goes, so we were asking because they would not let us speak to a judge on panel for the hip-hop division.
Yeah, the hip-hop division.
So we said, so then what is your suggestion? So I prepare my team for tomorrow, and basically was removing the styles. So then I said, so then you can't call it hip-hop if we're removing the styles.
Listen, hip-hop needs to reward... Right now, it's rewarding cleanliness over culture, conformity over authenticity, and safety over risk. And it just feels like
beautifully said. Actually, that was beautifully said.
Thank you. And I just feel like sometimes hip hop is just being judged through like a jazz lens, or it's being judged heavy trick based, and you're like. Death drops or
it's just masking. There's no emphasis on, wow, all 14 dancers just hit all of those 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4. And then instead they're applauding the teams that are having moments, but not, and then there's a dancer just standing in the background, because it visually, do I agree? It does look pretty, but what about the difficulty scores?
But hip hop was built on individuality and freestyle and texture and community and depth. And if competition systems are only rewarding the cleanliness, like I said before, and the uniformity, then the risk is like stripping away from some of the very elements that actually hip hop was founded on. And that's why the system's broken, and why, like you said, they're behind.
Yeah. And a lot of the conversation that we were just talking, that was happening during that, after that 7-hour wait, and you got to sit down with those three directors. That was happening around that time, right? What has there been? Out of curiosity, has there been any outreach afterwards, or have they tried to smooth things over, talk to you guys? Like, what has happened? Because
I mean, someone from varsity, actually 2 people from varsity, like head people, reached out to us just saying they're so sorry this happened, and I'll just leave it at that. They were very apologetic and understand our frustration. But from those panel of people we met with and USASF, we have heard nothing. The most that we heard was the judge that went on the internet and decided to slander.
Yeah, let's get into that. Because that threw me for a loop. And I will say this, I am someone who speaks my mind very openly about routines. I'm well aware of that. You're not going to catch me on a panel for that exact reason. I feel like there is a separation that needs to happen, and a little bit different respect when you're a judge and then you're someone like me, a content creator or a podcaster, right? That post was beyond me. Calling you guys sore losers was beyond me.
Yeah, it was just mean.
I mean, and I also want to say, like, I apologize to you guys, but also your kids. I can't imagine my athletes having to read something like that and know that person was on the panel. So first off, sorry that happened to you guys.
Well, thank you. And I just want to make it clear, she didn't judge our routine, and she did make that clear. She went back to watch our routine though, after I guess things were happening. I don't know if it was at Worlds or after Worlds.
I don't know if that makes it better in my head.
I think it kind of makes it a little
I
worse.
hope she went back and watched all top 10 before she posted that then.
That's the issue.
Thank you.
And that's why the system's broken. Like, I'm just gonna, I feel like I should write system broken on my head. Like,
I'll do it with you.
Thank you. I do want to start by saying this was sent to us from another team who was so supportive to us, but they were so defeated in their own right, and their owners are so good at hip hop. Like, when I say, like, I mean, I'm not going to name who they danced with, but like, your mouth would drop. Like, they are teaching their kids the culture and the foundation. They're from West Coast, and they sent it to me, and they said, hey, I'm just giving you a heads up. And it was sent to them by someone that basically applauded this judge's post. And to me, I was like, see, this is where the community is wrong. Because when you do this to one, It should rally all.
Yeah.
And that's why it's broken. So while we were publicly defending these judges, a judge that wasn't even on our panel made a public statement online about us without tagging us. So how can studios actually feel safe? Okay, that's the first thing, because that's what USASF and Varsity is all about, like feeling safe. And how can we feel safe having a respectful conversation if professionals that are tied to the organization are publicly ridiculing our concerns, but also kids? Like, you called my kids sore losers. You called me a sore loser. And I just
also, I would like to say, in the original post that we even created, nowhere did we talk about other teams. Nowhere did we talk about the judges. We were talking about the system. We're friends with all the other teams, and
most of them that we know.
And, you know, like you said before, the top 3, I applauded to them. They're great programs. The frustrating part for us is that we wanted to be near them. That's it.
Not near them in winning. Near them in competing.
I would go to Worlds and compete against the best. If you're telling me that's the best,
then put me up against them.
Put me back to back with them. I've been cheering them on all season. You know, publicly and privately. So I think that was the frustrating point from that judge, is making it sound like we're like throwing a tantrum, and not once did we.
At the end of the day, I said too in my post that, like, you take this oath that you speak about and they make it like it's so like you're becoming the president of the United States, but then here you are online bashing a team,
something that's supposed to be in privacy,
for speaking our minds. And then she took out the sore loser thing, I think, once people started kind of like chiming in.
I commented on there. I said sore loser question mark.
No.
Well,
I think it was her clout.
I agree. I will say too, what bothers me about it is that, I mean, let me ask this first. Did you have any private conversations with this judge?
No.
That's the issue to me. So she's seeing your posts, seeing what you're saying, but yet there's nothing of her reaching out and being like, hey, what was going on? Let's talk about it. Let me try and offer some feedback, or I could bring this to my executives, or whatever it is. It was just, I'm going to read this and I'm going to make one assumption. And there was zero conversation to actually understand you guys. And that's where I struggle with the transparency part. Like, there has to be some kind of transparency there. You're being very transparent online, and then she's sharing her response, which is not really prompted online, having no conversation. And that's where I struggled the most with the post, is like, you're not even trying to understand them. And this is an area where everyone sees that we are weak in this industry, and you are a leader in that area, and you're refusing to see the side of the people that really need that help. And that's where I struggle.
And, you know, going off of that, I mean, she should have messaged us privately, but you should have then just tagged us.
I also agree. Like, if you're going to talk about me, at least talk about me.
Just tell me then. Like,
invite me to the party.
Invite me to the conversation. Invite me to the conversation at the end of the day. And I think, you know, there was a judge that reached out to us and did exactly what you said. Wanted the full, gave us their feedback, watched our routine. Not that I asked this judge to. No. Gave us feedback, and then I said, hey, listen, I appreciate your feedback, but you don't know the whole story here, so I'm going to give you some context. I gave the contents, and immediately the response was, oh my God, no one should have been talking to you besides a hip-hop panel judge. And then this is the one that said about, like, you're doing something so impactful. Keep doing when it feels impossible. The culture's so much more important.
Because how do you say to us as the directors, like, oh yes, hip-hop is made of different styles and foundations, but not everyone can do it like you guys, so we have to find a happy marriage. You should have never said that to us.
And then the other thing in that social media post was, there's a comment, I'm going to assume from a director, I don't know this person, and basically saying that she always respected our program. I guess she doesn't anymore because I opens my mouth. And then she said she felt bad for all those poor kids. I feel so bad for them.
I saw that.
I want to make it very clear on this podcast. My kids are the ones questioning. My kids are the ones that want answers. We come from the place that we want to know, how do we get better? Every loss is a reason for us on how to get better. But when I don't have an answer, I should be able to go to someone that's above me and ask for that answer, to provide guidance to the children we're all trying to educate. Otherwise, this is just an elaborate party that gives globes and medals. That's what that's what you're telling me. No educational purpose then we're getting out of it. So by my kids asking questions, they're wrong? No. These kids deserve to ask questions. So don't feel bad for my kids. My kids are the ones seeing this. Lastly, I had a few members on my team say to me after all this happened, and we reflected, and they said, you know, the more and more I think about it, I feel like I couldn't authentically be myself as a dancer and push out of my box when I'm on the world stage, because I'm so worried about being clean and hitting a score sheet, hitting a line, hitting a column, making sure my box is perfect and I don't have a groove to it. I feel like I hold myself back on the world stage.
She said, I'm not dancing to my fullest potential. And that broke us. It broke us. And I was like, because I never want that to happen. And these are kids that not only want to dance collegiate paths, etc., they just want to push themselves to the best and highest standard. If you're telling me that Worlds is supposed to be the biggest and highest standard, to have an athlete say to you, like, I have to hold back. Like, I have to dumb myself down so that way I'm not out of the picture or my full outness isn't recognized as being sloppy. That is a huge problem.
It's a red flag.
It's a huge problem.
It is. But then what that happens is that, what happens is then it bleeds into studio culture. So then the studio culture is, I'm not teaching textures, I'm not teaching weight changes, I'm just teaching you to be clean. And where I struggle with that is then, what happens after you're done at the studio? You try and go to commercial, and then all of a sudden you don't know how to move your body appropriately. You don't know textures. You might know how to be clean, but that's not what a director is always going to look for. You have to have some kind of, what you just said, individuality. And if you're just being taught how to look like everyone else that hits that stage, how are we growing our industry?
And just going off of that, because I want people to understand this as well too, about how our studio runs. I'll use Team Assassins, my Worlds team. They train a minimum. Their minimum that's mandatory is 10.5 hours a week. Okay. Some of the light dancers though are training 16.5 hours. Now, these are the classes that they take. They take ballet, jazz, hip hop, acro, leaps and turns only. Then they have a few rehearsals mixed into that. They have a hip hop progressions class. So you know how you have a leaps and turns class, like kicks, turns? We do that for hip hop too, where we teach the progressions. We teach waves, freestyling, go across the floor, rocks. Like, think very like steezy, like how like they have like those warm up classes. We teach them that in their hip hop progressions class. They have a workout class. They have a senior strengthening class. So like, my kids aren't just coming in just doing their routine. That's not for what you just said, because at some point we have to ask, is competitive dance rewarding artistry, or are we rewarding manageability? There needs to be, you know what I'm saying? So who are we that this kid who's been holding herself back, now she's like, I don't even know if I know, I mean, she does, but I'm just saying, for example, I don't even know if I know how to wave because I've been doing my waves so clean that I look like a robot doing it.
Or I think where we're from too, like, we are 10 minutes out of Manhattan. So we are in a huge hip hop dance crew scene. And we've been pushing so much for other studios to start to do All-Star. We're like, no, the environment's so great, it's so athletic. But I can't blame them or fault them when they turn around to, our kids are like, I'm not doing that, it's cheer dance. Like, and here we are trying to be a little bit, I'm going to say, different at USASF Worlds and putting styles, putting textures, but then it's not even being not rewarded, but just not even appreciated because we don't need to, it's coming back home. It's a very hard thing to try to navigate because it's like you have to split yourselves into two, the all-star version and the hip-hop version, and that's just not realistic. It's just also not fair to the hip-hop culture. Stop calling it hip-hop then if that's not what you want.
Yeah, and I would say the general public also agrees. I feel like every season I see comments that are like, this isn't hip hop, this isn't hip hop, this isn't hip hop. And it's unfortunate because we're just in a system where we're not able to break out and actually train true, authentic styles. We're stuck in that box, and it's very troubling. What's your guys' plans for next season? What are you guys gonna do? I mean, I know when we talked, you're like, after we post this, we can't go back. Has that changed yet?
You know what? I don't think it's so much like we can't go back. And I'm going to clarify. It's not that in the week of frustration of Worlds, in the 2 a.m. results, it's not that we can't go back because we didn't place top 5. It's that we were frustrated because in our heads, leaving day 1 for us, we're like, okay, we're in 5th. Tomorrow, we're going to get to go back to back. And then we come to find out we're not back to back. It's 10th place, 2 Palm teams. 9th place, 2 Palm teams. But then it gets to 4 to 1, they're back to back. Why? Yeah, like the system is so broken, So I think for us, we looked at each other and we're like, how do you just keep on jumping in the fire?
I think another conversation we kind of had about it is I want our kids to gain education from experiences that are going to cost them money, time, travel, and I want to invest in companies that are giving something back that we can take home. So what we actually want to happen for Worlds or for any competition that we look at is we want a better division structure. There should be a seated order and a split division or tighter windows, more rubric transparency, clearer scoring explanations, educational breakdowns, and more accountability, and greater hip hop specialization. Judges that you have access to. There's access to so many, and not saying that these were bad, but just deeper. I want deeper.
Or studying other programs, for instance, like Hip Hop International. Why is HHI so successful? Look at their rubric where they're making teams do properly, I'm going to asterisk properly, 3 to 4 styles before even, hitting a certain
and a lot of people will say, well, they should just go to Hip Hop International.
Well, we've been asked for 5 years,
but we've been choosing
it down.
We've been choosing Worlds because we've invested in a company. And when you are an owner of a company, when you start to make an investment, you want to see it through. You're invested in it. So it's not so easy just to jump ship when something doesn't go your way or it's hard. We've had hard years at World. So it's not about it being hard. It's just the system was breaking down. And there is so much more that has been broken from other coaches. It's not my story to tell. And the things that my mouth has dropped. Kyle, I know that you spoke to a few, but I think what it's lacking is open communication. Studios shouldn't feel punished for asking respectful questions at the end of the day.
Or, I'll share this, and it happened to us in jazz, and it is so frustrating. So day 1 of jazz, we're so excited, first time ever in the jazz division, so we're just happy to be at the party. We scored, and rightfully so, in the low 80s for the majority, and I agree. We get one score sheet that was a 91 without any critiques.
So when it was questioned, it was just like, oh, it was a mistake. It should be in your emails right now. To this day, we still don't have any comments on that score sheet. But then on semifinals, we got the scores that we should have. We didn't make it to finals, but it was all in the same realm. It was, I believe, what we call it a performance pusher. They want to see you bump. And what the sad thing is, we got bumped up from a team. Like, we took a spot from someone that should have been there. It shouldn't have been us in semifinals. And I'm sorry to my kids watching this. I'm an honest person. But it shouldn't have been us. Our scores, that 91 was just dropped in there. It was just dropped in there.
With no explanation.
I call that a placement adjustment.
There you go.
If it's happening in jazz, it's happening across the board. Like, how do you keep supporting that?
So
I agree. I agree.
Yeah. So, I mean, I just want to, we love this industry enough to want to see it do better. And I don't think that us two people and you, I don't know if we can make a big enough change in it. If I was USASF, I would have reached out to us by now. But also, I hope that they do watch this and they do gain some type of knowledge from it. Because everyone's feeling it. UDA is feeling it. Worlds now is feeling it. It's just a cycle, and
it's getting harder. It's getting harder judges to try to judge in that standard in that bracket. Also, to having head judges, which I understand the purpose of it, but to have judges kind of telling your judging panel which way to score, etc. You know, one of my colleagues years ago, I used to dance with him in Manhattan when I first started college. He was once a USASF judge, and he actually ended up having to step down and quit. And
he just didn't like how like it was formulated on the panel, and it just didn't fit well with his soul on what was happening
and being told how to score.
Yeah,
exactly. And I think it's very troubling for a judge who has this expertise to be told, just follow my lead, when that's just putting you in a box as a judge. You're not able to share your opinion, so that's probably why you're getting very minimal feedback on your score sheets. And just to expand on that a little bit more, so the head judges say I'm a head judge going in. I'm going to score a caption a 9.2. That means Ashley and Courtney can only go 2-3 points above or 2-3 points below. So you can't really see that. But then it's troubling when things like the placement adjustment happens, when all your scores are probably in that same range, 80, 82, 84, then all of a sudden there's a 9.1. It's like, what is going on here? So I agree. The head judge, yeah, go ahead.
They'll back it and say in their rules that they're allowed a 10-point, so like if you got an 81, you're allowed to go up to a 91. But then why the next day did I not get around that 91? That 91 dropped to an 85. Like, because someone made a mistake, or
that's what happens. Someone made a mistake, and that's okay because everyone is human. But how do we fix it?
Yeah.
Yes.
So
exactly.
We just, we just want to see a change happen, and we're hoping to find, some type of clarity. And I just don't know if it's ever going to come, unless enough people make a change. Like I've said, I've had over 10 studios and gym owners reach out to me, and they're all like, "Where are you guys going next year? Where are you guys going? We're going to go wherever you guys go." And I'm like, I didn't want this. Like, I didn't want this. I'm speaking up on just like what happened to us and what doesn't sit right with me. But it's just sad that so many of them are like, I'm so sorry, I can't comment because I don't want my studio to be blacklisted.
It's awful.
And it just shouldn't be like that. And I get it. You can look at it as we're super ranty and sore loser or whatever.
No, we're just New
Jersey. No, it's not even that we're just New Jersey.
We're just New Jersey. You're funny.
This girl, I can't.
It is.
No, we're just honest. And it has, if your kids aren't walking away, and this goes for anybody watching this, if they're not walking away from an experience with something, an educational reason, or just something that's going to get them better, then you need to question, why are you still investing?
I agree. Yeah. And that part is so very true, the blacklisting part. I mean, I told you about my experience this season and what happened, and it's just very true, and people are scared to speak out. And the amount of DMs and emails I get of just people wanting to just vent because they can't talk online, they can't say something online, they just want to get it out and like tell you. It is very troubling, and I hope that there is some kind of change. I mean, USASF Worlds is one of the events that made me fall in love with dance team. So it's like this is like the past few years, it has been a little bit more troubling for me to want to jump on the bandwagon and support 100%, just because some of the things that we've been seeing, and people sharing concerns behind the scenes with directors and people who can make decisions, and no change yet. So I applaud you guys for wanting to speak out, because this is how we push change. And I know us three aren't going to change the industry ourselves, but if we could at least be a little puzzle piece in the mix, then I'm happy that we're contributing somehow. So I appreciate you both for coming on and sharing and being open and honest with your guys' story.
Well, thank you. And we appreciate you so much. And even after Worlds, reaching out and just checking in, and just being a listening ear, but having us on to speak about this. I know you have a few great podcasts coming up, and I'm excited to really watch them and tune in. But no, we appreciate you so much, and we hope that this falls on listening ears, not on deaf ears.
All right, you guys. I hope you enjoyed that interview with Courtney and Ashley from the Source Dance Lab. Again, thank you for coming on the show and being so open and honest and just vulnerable about your experience. I know speaking out about conflicts you have with some organizations can be very challenging. Listen, this is coming from someone who was blacklisted from an event this year because I spoke out about a blind item that was sent my way, which was not false, and allegedly, and now I'm blacklisted from said event. And maybe one day I'll be able to talk about it, but not now. Anyways, we were able to drop the news about SFA competing at both NDA and UDA nationals this season, which is major if you ask me. I feel like these college teams need more freedom to compete wherever they want. Like, who cares if you have the same athletes that just won UDA? Let them go to NDA. Now, I know those rules don't apply for like DTU College Classic. Like a team, for example, University of Oregon, they go and compete at UDA, and then they go to the College Classic in April. And I love that format. I just want more teams to have more freedom in competing. And I feel like there's more conversations that need to be had about UDA. We'll get there at a different time. But anyways, the rules and regulation. Back it up, Kyle. What I was about to say is, I love this. I feel like I applied pressure. I love that. I feel like I applied pressure. Okay. We dropped the news that SFA, we were the first ones to drop the news that SFA is going to be competing at both. And in my article, I did say that the roles were not posted yet for UDA. So at any time, the rules could change and say you just alone cannot compete at UDA and NDA. Now, the rules in the past have been your program can essentially compete at both. Now, what that means is you are not able to take these same athletes to both competitions. So you could take your athletes to UDA and say you have 18 on the floor or 20 something on the roster. I believe TJ told me 24. But that same 24 cannot be on the NDA roster. So a program like SFA that has, I think TJ said 48. We're going to hear an interview here shortly because we did get TJ Maple on the show. He's going to talk a little bit about the developments that are going on in his season. The same athletes cannot compete at both competitions. I think that's whack. Let teams compete. Stop being a monopoly and controlling what teams can do. But that's just my own opinion. Anyway, so the rules dropped today. This is what, Wednesday, May 27th, about teams competing at both national. Well, not teams. That's not what the rules dropped today, but the rules dropped today. And so I want to see if anything has changed yet with the rules. So let's find it. Here it is. No changes. So teams can compete at another event promoted as a national or international championship, exception ICU cheerleading dance or ICU World Cheerleading Championships, World University Cheerleading Championships. For the 2025-2026 school, I think you mean 2026-2027 school year. Whatever. Anyways, a school can compete at UCA and NCA if a team is recognized as a separate team by the school and no athletes are the same. No athletes can compete at both events. Now, okay, first of all, it's not UCA or NCA, it's UDA and NDA. So even though that's not even in there, I wonder if it just doesn't matter at all. Because technically you're not breaking the rules because you're not competing at NCA or UCA. You would be NDA and UDA, but whatever. Anyway, so no rules have changed, so all that's going to be the same. SFA will be competing at both this year. Let's take a listen to this interview I had with TJ Maple talking a little bit more about SFA and the plans for this upcoming season.
DTU has officially launched their annual Road to Nationals contest to provide an opportunity to earn funding towards your Nationals experience. DTU's motto, "We're here for you," continues their commitment to supporting teams. This is the first of many opportunities DTU has set in place to make your Nationals journey smoother in the DTU For You initiative. So check out how you can enter by visiting danceteamunion.com.
Are you worried about rules changing at all?
I mean, we're not breaking any rules.
Yeah, correct.
You know, our team we have a roster of 48 dancers, and we've split them at tryouts into a UDA team of 24 and an NDA team of 24. So the only thing they're doing together during the season is football, and then our show at the end of the year. The way that we have it split up is NDA team will take the first leg of basketball season while UDA is in competition mode. And then whenever we come back from UDA will take on basketball through postseason while NDA is in competition mode. So a unique situation here at SFA is the dance team does all basketball. So we are responsible for home football games and all basketball and basketball postseason. So, that started last year. And so last year was the first time doing all 4 routines at NDA with postseason and everything else. And so that's why we were like, all right, we got to figure out something to where we could give every dancer the best opportunity and the best experience to compete. Yeah. But as far as rules changing, I mean, I've talked to both NDA, I've talked to Varsity, I've talked to UDA in the past. Like, this isn't something brand new for us. We've been trying to do this since 21-22 season. Wow. So, because we hold a roster of, most of the time, 45 plus dancers.
Yeah, I was going to say, you've always had a big program like that for as long as I can remember. Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah,
what a team that started whenever I got here, I could pick 15. That was what I was told, and then now I've got 3 times that amount. So, yeah,
I love that. What makes up of a NDA athlete versus like a UDA athlete? Like you said, you switched both of them. So, what? How do you pick which team goes
we had some consultants come in to tryouts that know the UDA style. And so they were very influential in helping me decide where people needed to be. Obviously, this isn't an A team, B team type situation. We don't,
for sure.
Our team is, the best version of ourselves as possible at all times. And so this is how quickly can we get these athletes ready for UDA versus who are the ones that need a little bit more time. And that time is allowed for NDA. So not cutting anyone short. We still have unfinished business at NDA. So like this isn't a case of we're putting all of our good dancers on one and everyone else to the other. That's not it at all. We've just split based on what their strengths are. We're not doing the same styles across each competition. And so that's kind of different as well. I mean, it's looking at who is ready now versus who needs more time, and looking at their strengths. Who are the movers and the groovers, and for hip hop, and who are the tricksters and the technicians? Because as we all know, the UDA score sheet versus the NDA score sheet, technique isn't valued the same.
Yep.
And so our technical skills rather. So I think taking all that into account is where we kind of drew the lines. And unlike years before where we've said we're starting with this big number and we're going to let you know in the season, we did everything in the tryout weekend from the get-go. So they knew what team they were being placed on, and they're kind of there for the fruition of the year. So
yeah, that's incredible. I like that outline that you have. Do you know which, because you said I imagine you're not going to do all 4 routines at NDA this year.
No,
do you know what you're
that won't even be possible.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, so at UDA we're going to compete jazz and pom.
Very nice. I had a feeling. Yep.
Yeah, and at NDA,
hip hop at NDA.
No, we're actually going to do jazz and hip hop at NDA. So
cool. I was hoping you wouldn't let go of hip hop.
Yeah. So a little bit of history. We have actually 4 titles from NDA hip hop from 2012, 2013, 2015, and 2016. And when the music rule changed, that provoked a whole challenge. And so we're just now getting to the point where we've tattered with hip hop here and there, and we've gone from going back into the division after years of being gone to 5th place. And then this year we got 4th. And we have our hip hop choreographer is Brenna Hunter. And I think she goes by another name, but anyway, I know her as Brenna Hunter. So Brenna, she danced on Memphis. She is so invested in us, and we couldn't let that go. So, like, she wants to help get us, hopefully back on top one day. And so she's coming in. We're going to stay with hip hop and try to get back in. Our goal is in the top 3. We came in after being out of it for a couple years again and placed 4th this year. And then just we won our first NDA Jazz title this year. So I'm not ready to let that go.
No, I think you're not.
Historically, we have the most talented team that I've ever had in my, this is my 22nd season. And so I think that we'll be primed to be able to to handle our business in both, to be successful. Our goal is never honestly focusing on that win. It's focusing on the wins every day and challenging them to be the best version of themselves, both holistically and from a dancing standpoint.
Yeah. Do you think you're about to set off a trend? Do you think we'll see more
I
teams
hope
follow
so.
this lead?
I mean, I really hope so. Why not? Until or if we ever go completely one big competition, why not? If you've got the numbers and you've got the backing from your university and whatever department you fall in, we're in athletics and we are very, blessed to have the support that we have here. After a long time, it hasn't always been that way. We've persevered through a lot, being in student affairs to moving to athletics to now what they're wanting us to do and supporting us to do. I hope it makes a trend. It's why not? I mean, that's my mindset is if we're not breaking any rules, which we are not, they are going to be clearly two defined teams. I saw a comment today on the page saying, well, how's varsity going to make sure that they don't cross over?
Yeah,
well, we have video proof of who's competing. So this isn't, 2005. Huh?
You have to go through a whole registration process. You're putting in the athlete's name,
what's the difference in this versus me competing 4 routines at NDA and not being able to cross over dancers more than 2 routines? There's a process. I mean, clearly we're going to follow everything that we need to, and I'm not a rule breaker. So, I mean, if something is clearly there, I'm not going to break it. I think this is a weird workaround, but we're still not breaking any of the rules. The only difference in a club team versus an official team is we're coaching both. So it's the same coaching staff versus having a total separate non-funded, non-everything team to a team that's maybe funded by the university. So
yeah. No kidding. How many assistants do you have helping you on the team?
I have currently I have 1 associate head coach. So I don't call her an assistant. She is just as equal as
that
me.
Name.
Every other sport has it, so why not? Why not us? And she comes with a lot of experience. She's coached at many universities and started a lot of programs and colleges, and so finding someone outside of the program was, although may not have been the first choice sometimes, it has definitely been a great thing so far. And she's about to finish her first year with me, so she's come in and started rocking and rolling from day one. So
congrats, associate. All right, so what for your university, what does competing at both of these stages mean? Well, also not just your university, but what does this mean for the dance industry alone? Because like we were just saying, like this could be a trend. So like, is this like really setting a standard?
I don't know. I don't know how to answer that, quite honestly. We're doing it from a standpoint of what we need to do for us. Will it set a standard? Will it set a trend? Maybe. I'm not out here trying to be different so that I set a trend. I live every day like I'm going to live it regardless. And, it's never been about trying to do something different for attention. Quite honestly, I'm the least attention raving person that I probably know. I don't like crowds. I don't like, getting up and talking in front of a big crowd. That's just not in my nature. I do it when I have to, but, will it set a trend? Possibly. Will it bring a lot of attention? It is. It's going to, because it's never been done. But there were lots of things before this that had never been done. So, teams that have crossed over and, gone from one to the other, in both directions. And so, I don't know that I'm not really doing this to be a trendsetter. I'm doing what's best for us and for my team, because at the end of the day, my only focus is the SFA dance team and our university. Our athletic department is very innovative. Our whole school is our president is really innovative and supportive. We're probably the only school that our president has actually come to Daytona the past 2 years.
Oh, wow.
To watch. And so that kind of support is unique. And so we find ourselves in this unique position where we're able to do more than the normal run-of-the-mill team in a lot of ways. Our numbers, what we do, you better bet that our game day is going to be on point still. You're going to better bet that we're going to support the other athletic teams, but then we're going to give every opportunity we can to increase this world of the dance team industry, and through our athletes having as much opportunity as possible.
Yeah, and you'll be D1, right?
D1, yeah.
All right, are you ready?
World.
There's
some powerhouses there, and I'm, ready might not be the word, but excited. I think that,
I like that.
I think that when we stop growing as a team, then you start dying, right? So I want to keep the growth and keep challenging us to get better. Trust me, I'm dotting my I's and I'm crossing my T's.
As you should.
I'm not a stranger to competition. I might be a stranger to this particular competition, but we're not a stranger to the work that we put in to prepare. So I don't know if nervous is the word, but excited. I'm excited to try something new and different, and grow and continue to evolve. I think that's the thing. That's the place that I don't want to ever get complacent in, is our growth and our evolving as a team.
Yeah, and I assume you're going to be choreographing Palm, right?
I am, but I'm collaborating with someone, and I'm not going to release.
I will not ask any other questions.
But yeah, we're going to do it together, and so let's just say I'm dotting my I's and crossing my T's.
Absolutely. Okay, so what should we expect when we see you hit the UDA stage?
You should expect athleticism. You should expect crisp, sharp, strong movement. I'd like to think that we're going to bring a little bit of a 1A feel to the D1 division.
I love that.
In the Palm division. In jazz, we have found our identity, so keeping true to ourselves while quickly moving over to another score sheet and style of competition. We're gonna do what we do best and be memorable that way. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm not going to take so much more of your time. I have one final question for you.
Okay.
When this season finishes and you look back and you reflect on this season, what do you want to think and say about your team?
I want to think, how courageous we were to try something unique and different, and hopefully the success comes in more than one way. We value success by the little wins every day, and doing this is going to help prepare them in so many more ways of their life. So that's what I hope. I hope that we'll view ourselves as courageous and hopefully victorious to some degree as well.
Absolutely. All right, you guys, I hope you enjoyed that interview with the TJ Maple of SFA. I cannot wait to see what they do this season. All right, you guys, to finish off the show here, I want to share with you my top 10 routines from this season. I've seen these routines either in person or on social media, watching live streams, whatever it is, and some routines that I just still think about till this day, and I just appreciate what they brought to the dance team world. I feel like each of these routines have really shaped the divisions that they competed at and the industry and circuits that they touch. So here we go. Top 10 routines. In 10th place, we have University of South Alabama Jazz. Ninth place, LSU Hip Hop. Specifically finals day, because I feel like their finals performance was way better than their first round performance. So finals, top tier. Minnesota Palm. Love Minnesota this year. I just appreciate Minnesota breaking standards. Not breaking standards, but reaching standards in their competitive sets. Palm especially, you don't see anyone that has a routine like Minnesota, but a lot of these routines, and Palm specifically, look the same, but Minnesota just comes out and it's just so different. I love it. All right. West Virginia Palm. Listen, this intro, the WVU intro, I think about every single day. There's not a night I'm laying my head to rest and I don't think about that WVU intro. Just insane. We have Pasco Hip Hop. I just love a small hip hop team that just could come out and dominate and like set standards. Like this small hip hop team can make large hip hop teams shaking their boots. You know what I mean? We have Dakota Palm in number 5. Dakota is one of those teams that I just feel like constantly raises the bar every single year. And what they bring to the national stage is so different, but still stays so traditional to Palm. Team USA Palm, also Texas Tech. Now, specifically the Team USA routine, I feel like that routine, if they took that routine to UDA, I think they probably would have won, to be quite honest with you. It was just top tier, no flaws. All right, my top 3 in third place, University of Louisiana. This hip hop routine is just insane. Like, I don't know if it was just because I got to witness it in person, but top tier hip hop routine. I just loved it. It was so good. I think about that routine every single day. We have GVSU Jazz, another dominant routine. And then in first place, we have Westmore Open Routine. I have talked about this routine on the podcast several times. Several times I have talked about this routine because I really think it made a statement at Dance Team Union Nationals. There was like no team turn sets. It was so solely focused on building. This is going to sound funny because they dance with the picture frame, but they were building the picture for us. And it just led us through a story that you don't see a lot on dance team stages. So it's one of those routines that I think I'm going to talk about for years and years and years to come. All right, you guys, listen, this coming month of June, the episodes that we have available and coming to you and 3 of them are already done. No, 2 of them are already done. Our Travis Lake interview, which drops next week. Travis Lake is just an icon to the dance world. Like, icon. From Minnesota to BYU to Dance Mania. I think I even saw on Instagram that he picked up a team this year, which I'm very excited about. We talk about it a little, if this is true, if I read it correctly. In our interview, we talk a little bit about it, and I asked him if he really wanted to get back into dance team, like back to choreographing and back to working. And simply put, his answer was yes, if the opportunity allowed for it. And it looks like that opportunity came. So if it's true, I'm excited to see some more Travis Lake work in the future. That's going to be next week. And then June 11th, we have Aaron Alvarado with Texas Tech. Such an insightful interview. We go through the ICU process. We talk about Texas Tech. We talk about UDA Nationals. I think we even talk a little bit about next season as well, too. So if you're a Texas Tech fan or if you love the routine this year, definitely stop by that interview. It's a fun one. And I'm just very happy that I got to sit down with a leader who's changing it all and just talk and chat. All right, and then June 18th, we have Ramona and Shan, 2 that were on our Palm Judges episode last year, almost a year ago, I think so. Or no, close to a year ago. They're coming on the podcast, and we're going to talk all things Palm. Now, that is not an interview that we have done yet. That's going to be coming actually here this weekend. So this is Thursday. We're going to be doing it on Sunday. So if there's something that you're interested to know about Palm, or something that troubled you this year with Palm, send me a DM or send us contact us on our website and let me know, because I would love to include what the community wants to know about Palm scoring and judging and just all things. And then June 25th, the last episode of the June month, is going to be another blind item episode. Now, this one we're going to get a little spicy because I listened to some of the voicemails and a lot of spicy conversations. I have to get some approved to make sure that we're able to talk about them, but that's going to be an episode that I'm very excited to do as well too, because we're also going to be talking about IDL Sydney. So the predictions that I had in this episode, I'm going to look back and see where they lied on the actual charts. So very excited for that. And then I'm going to give updated predictions for the Seoul event, because I'm pretty sure by the time I record the lineup for Seoul will be out. So that's it for you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this long episode. If you hung out all the way through and you are here, thank you so much. I appreciate you. This past year of podcasting has been very transformative for me. I went from being just a dance team reaction channel on TikTok or YouTube, and then I went to actually finding my voice and using my voice, and hopefully starting conversations and continuing conversations. And I hope I'm just doing right by this industry. And so I just thank everyone who has stuck along for the ride. If you've been here since day one of me yelling at my phone and screen for dance teams, or if you started when No Counts Given came, or if this is your first episode of No Counts Given, I just appreciate you for giving me a chance. That's all I could possibly say. Thank you for changing my life every single day. Thank you. All right, everyone. Have a great rest of your Thursday. I look forward to seeing you guys next week for another episode of the No Counts Given podcast. Bye, everyone.
Ooh la la, everybody knows I'm the vibe, I'm the show.